Good evening, ladies as well as gentlemen. I'm Papa Boris here, and I'm going to start playing a new game for this channel, Into the Breach. If you don't know, this is a tactical, turn-based RPG roguelike made by the same people as the people who made Faster Than Light. And that was my favorite game of the year when it came out, and I think this might be my favorite game of the year, or at least it is for the time being. One thing I appreciate is that there are multiple profiles, so I don't have to get rid of all of my save data to make videos for this channel. I can just create a new profile. No need for tutorials, you have me, and let's go ahead and make this thing. Okay, so in this game, the story is that humanity has been destroyed by these aliens called Vex. They're these giant bug things. And so we're gonna go jump back in time and try to save Earth again. And if we succeed, we'll just keep jumping back in time to save as many Earths as possible and as many timelines as possible. Okay, now at the beginning of the game, you choose a few things. You can choose your difficulty. I'm going to be playing on normal because I think normal is plenty hard enough. You also choose your squad, although at the beginning of the game all the squads are locked except for the Riftwalkers, who are actually quite good. For many people, this is their favorite squad, even though it's the squad that you start with, so it's not like a bad squad or anything. And you also choose your pilot. Now, at the moment, all the pilots are locked except for this guy, and so we're going to choose them. So your first time playing, you don't really choose a whole lot. You can choose by clicking here which mech the pilot starts in, although it doesn't actually matter too much because you can actually change that in the game before you do your first mission. One thing I would suggest before you start to play is look at the achievements for the squad. So each squad has its own set of achievements, and each achievement that you complete gives you a coin. Coins are what you use to unlock other squads. Some are cheap, some are more expensive. So I like that because it makes you feel good about achieving achievements other than just, I achieved all the achievements. And there's a lot of leeway. You don't need to unlock all the, or to achieve all the achievements in order to unlock all the squads. If you do a little bit of math here, 12 plus 10, 22, 28, 30, you only need 30 coins to unlock all the squads, and there's a total of 55 achievements available. But if you do unlock them all, there's actually like a secret squad that you can get, which I will not be getting in this video because, or in this video series, because I am not that big on achievements, and some of these achievements are pretty difficult to get. Any hoodle, let's just go ahead and take a look at these. So if you can drown 3 enemies in one battle, you get a coin. If you can kill an enemy 5 or more tiles away with a dash punch, which makes no sense right now, but we'll talk about that, you get a coin. It's actually a pretty easy one. And then this one is just completing the first corporate island. That's definitely the easiest achievement in the entire game, because you're definitely going to do this at some point. And let's go ahead and start. So the way that this game works is that the meta structure is that there are these 4 islands. Most of Earth has been flooded, and so a lot of people are left living on these islands. And you have to clear 2, 3, or 4 of them before you can face the final boss. And I like this a lot. It's a pretty cool design. You basically get to choose how difficult the final mission is. If you only clear 2 of these islands, the final mission's pretty easy. If you clear 3, it's harder. If you clear 4, it's hardest. And I find that usually it's easiest after 2 or 3 islands. I think clearing all 4 islands is necessary only if you're just like playing to be a completionist. I think that generally whatever strength you might gain from completing the 4th island is not worth it compared to how much harder the final mission is going to be as a result. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not playing on hard difficulty. I'm not going to do perfect 4 island clears. We're just going to be trying to beat the game with each of the squads. Now, when you first start playing, only Archive Inc. is unlocked. However, once you beat it, the Red Island here is unlocked. If you can beat both of these in the same game, the Ice Island becomes unlocked. And if you can beat all 3 of these in the same game, then this place becomes unlocked. And this is not necessarily an order of difficulty kind of thing. They're all different, but none of them are inherently harder or easier than the others. And there is some randomness to it as well. You can see in the bottom where it says threat scanner, like what enemies are present on the island. So eventually when you get more strategic, you can choose to do the islands in the order that, you know, best works with your squad. So once you've unlocked one, it stays unlocked permanently on your save file, and you can choose to do them in any order that you want to. But right now, with only one unlocked, we have to go here. So the game is nice. It kind of subtly railroads you into making certain decisions for your first game. So your first game is not too overwhelming with decisions, but you pretty quickly unlock more stuff and have more choices to make. So anyway, you have to clear 2, 3, or 4 of these islands. When you select an island, you have to complete 4 missions. And the way it works is there's a map which is randomly generated, and you can see what missions are available on the map. You're going to complete 4 of these, and then go back to corporate HQ and have like a mini boss fight. And when you finish that mission, you complete the island. Now, the stars and the little electric symbols represent the different types of rewards that you can get for completing a mission. So let's talk about how this game works. It's kind of interesting in that your goal is not actually to kill all the enemies. Your goal is to survive and to achieve these mission objectives. For example, this one, you get a star if you end with less than 4 mech damage, and you get a, let's call it grid, if you manage to not destroy the coal plant. So power grid here is kind of like your health bar. The enemies, for the most part, will try to attack the power grid, not you. And each time they succeed, the power grid depletes. And if you go to 0, then that's how you lose the game. So your mechs can actually be destroyed in a mission, and then they'll hop back in the next mission. And apart from the pilot being dead, which we'll talk about in a moment, they're just good to go. But if your power grid gets damaged, it does not heal up to full between missions. And if it goes down all the way to 0, then you lose the game. So the electric symbol gives you +1 to your power grid. If you're already full, and you get one of these, then your grid defense increases by 2. This is the percentage chance each time your power grid is attacked that the attack is resisted. Now, stars are reputation, and you can spend them after clearing the final mission to purchase things. Now, stars technically are strictly better than batteries, power electric symbols, because you can actually spend a star to get a grid hit point during that moment at the end when you can spend your reputation. But of course, getting this now gives it to you now, which you might need in the short term if you can't make it all the way through to the final mission without losing. Anyway, here I don't have much of a choice. I can go to the Archivist Hall, but I'm gonna have to eventually do this Restoration Center just because of how the map turned out. So here we'll be trying to not get our mechs damaged too much, and we're gonna be trying to protect the coal plant. You can see a little preview of the mission. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. So each mission has its own kind of things going on. This one has tidal waves. So at the start of each turn, all of these spaces are going to be filled up with water. Now your mechs can actually stand in water and be fine. They can't attack in water though, but they can walk through it and they can, end their turn in it. Whereas enemy mech and enemy Vec, these guys, if they're land-based and they get into water, they drown and die instantly. Now, this is the only guy that applies to. As you can see, these two are floating, so they don't get killed by the water. But this map is going to get more and more waterlogged as the mission goes on. At the beginning of a level, you choose where to place your mechs. I'm not going to think about this too hard. We'll just kind of drop them in, somewhere. And once you've decided where they go, you click Confirm, and the mission begins. So you are actually going to have 4 turns of gameplay. At the start of each turn, the enemy moves, and I guess because this is the very first time playing, it's only 3 turns, but in general it will be it'll say victory in 5 turns, and you actually have 4 turns of action. Here it said victory in 4 turns at the beginning, and that means we're going to actually have 3 turns. At the start of each turn, the enemies go, and you can see what the enemies are going to do. And these are locked in, so they're going to do this no matter what. This guy is going to attack the space downwind of him no matter what. And this guy is going to attack the space downwind of him no matter what. This guy doesn't actually do anything, but he provides bonuses to his allies. As long as he's alive, all enemies have +1 hit point. Now, this building has 2 little electricity symbols. And so currently what's set to happen is these guys are going to attack this building, and each of them is going to do 1 damage to it, causing the grid to drop by 2. So your turns in this game, you know exactly what the enemy is going to do. Your job then is to figure out how to, prevent that thing from happening, or how to turn the enemy's movements to your favor. So let's talk about your mechs. This guy has 3 movement speed. He has this punch attack, which deals 2 damage to an enemy and pushes it, which is pretty good because pushing things allows you to prevent something from happening that would be bad. So I could, for example, go here and punch this guy. He would then move on to this space, and he ended up attacking this little soldier scion. If I punched this guy, that wouldn't be as great because this guy would get punched and land in this forest, and then he would end up attacking this building instead of this building. So that's, you know, not maybe the most helpful thing unless I'm planning to somehow follow up punching him with killing him again or something of that nature. You can move your mechs, all of them, but once you shoot, that is committed for that mech's turn. However, you have one turn reset. If you realize you've really messed up, you can do this once per battle to go back to the beginning of the turn. But otherwise, as long as you haven't committed an attack, you can undo everybody's movements and really take your time and think about the situation. Now, these are spaces that new enemies will spawn from at the start of the next round. And if you or an enemy is sitting on top of one of these spaces at the start of a round, then you actually block them from spawning and take a damage. So I could push this guy onto this space and he'd block an enemy from spawning and take a damage, and he would also attack this soldier scion and deal 1 damage to it. My concern then is what to do about this hornet. Well, let's take a look at our other mechs. So the cannon mech fires a projectile that deals 1 damage and pushes an enemy. And this is an artillery mech who lobs a projectile, deals 1 damage to the square it lands on, and then pushes all surrounding squares. So the idea is that this is an artillery mech. Artillery can lob over blockages. So like I can actually attack this soldier scion, or this floating guy if I want to. But the downside of artillery is that you cannot target squares immediately adjacent to you. The projectiles go in a straight line, so they hit whatever is the first thing that they get, and you cannot, you know, lob them over buildings or allies or enemies you don't want to attack. But they can, of course, target enemies that are right next to them. There's no problem if there was something right in front of me to just shoot it. So what I think I'm going to do here is I can move my guy here and shoot this square, which will push the hornet out of the way of this building. Then I'm going to punch the hornet. Now when you move something into another thing, the thing that you're moving takes damage, and the thing that's pushed into also takes damage. So when I punch this guy, I'm going to deal 2 damage to him, then he's going to get shoved into his ally, and they each take a damage as a result of that. Now that clears up this space, so I'm going to take my cannon mech, move him here, and then I'm going to shoot this guy, pushing him away from that square and onto this square, so he'll block an enemy from spawning, and I'll take a damage and attack his friend. 2 enemies are going to spawn, and after they spawn, they're going to move, and all the existing enemies are going to move, and then we're going to do this all again, where we take a whole turn. Now you'll notice that there are these squares that are on fire. If you deal damage to a forest square that is, if you deal damage to a forest square, then it turns on fire. Being on fire means that you take 1 damage at the start of the enemy turn. So if there's an enemy with 1 hit point and that enemy is on fire, then it will die before it does anything. So currently what's set to happen is these squares are all going to fill up with water, so these 2 guys, which conveniently are land guys, are going to drown. Now, unfortunately, one of them has webbed my artillery in place, and there's not much I can really do from this square. I could, of course, push this guy away, and then that would free the artillery that is webbed by him, but I'm not actually sure that that's worth doing. I think all I'm going to do here is keep it really simple. We're just going to, let's do it with this guy. Go here, punch, that'll kill both of them because they each have just 1 hit point. Then we'll take this guy, put him here. The reason I'm putting him here is I want this enemy that spawns to not have many different places it can go. And then this cannon, it's just gonna sit there. It'll live, and there's no point. I mean, I could shoot here, but the problem with that is that it'll actually damage my own guys because it'll shove my combat mech into my cannon mech, and they'll each take a damage. There's no point in doing that, so I'm just gonna, you know, do nothing. You do have a repair action that you can use. It clears all status effects, gets rid of anything negative on the tile, and heals a hit point, but these are both at max HP, so nothing to do here except just end my turn. Notice these guys drown before they actually could attack my mech. So now there's only 1 enemy on the screen. He's going to try to shoot my guy. Sometimes enemies do that. What I found is that it's pretty random what the enemies actually decide they want to do. Sometimes, I mean, you'd think they would go after the buildings, and often they do, but sometimes they attack your guys. And when there's tons of enemies in play, it's really great when they attack your guys because that's easy. You just move your guys away as long as they're not webbed in place, and then, you know, it doesn't matter. Here, we're going to kill this guy very easily. Now, let's talk a little bit about pilots and mechs. So every mech has a pilot. And the pilot gains experience when that mech kills something. If a mech dies of the elements, like say by just being drowned by these tidal waves, or is on fire and dies at the beginning of its turn or something like that, everybody kind of splits the experience. The experience gained is equal to the hit points of the enemy. So for example, my combat mech, after punching this guy to death, is going to get 3 experience, because this thing had 3 hit points to start with. My special time traveler gains 2 bonus XP per kill, so he's actually going to get 5 experience for this kill. After reaching 25 experience, a pilot levels up and gains one of 4 benefits, which we'll see in a moment what those are. Maybe more than a moment, per se, because, you know, we'll need to actually have another mission before anyone levels up. But you get one of 4 benefits, and so that's the advantage of pilots. Now, if a mech loses all of its hit points during a battle, then it will be repaired at the beginning of the next mission, assuming, of course, you make it that far, but the pilot inside dies. And then you have an AI piloting the mech, which is fine, but AIs don't level up, so you can't get these benefits from leveling up when you don't have a pilot in the mech. That's like the small price you pay for allowing one of your mechs to be disabled during a fight. Now, the special time travelers that you choose one of at the beginning of each game have a bonus. This guy who you start with is pretty much the worst bonus ever, because once you've leveled up twice, getting bonus experience per kill doesn't really do anything. All the other time travelers have much better bonuses, so we're not going to be playing along with Ralph Carlson as awesome and, you know, hard-baked as he seems to be. Look at those intense eyes. Okay, so now we choose another mission. I am going to just take a look. Defend the train versus Don't Kill the Volatile Mech. These are both actually pretty difficult missions. I don't like not killing something. The train is a really tough one. We might fail this, but I'm going to do it. It's fun. I love this mission. The Defend the Train missions are always my favorites. They're just difficult. So what happens here is the train moves 2 squares each turn. If it bumps into something, it dies. If anything hits it, it dies, and you fail the mission. So it's a tough one. I'm going to go ahead and not worry too much about where I'm placing things, which is probably bad, but we're going to do it. This squad is actually one of the better squads for this mission, because every single character in the squad has the ability to push enemies, which does give you some flexibility for handling a variety of obnoxious situations. Okay, we got a pod. Now, these are really great. Every now and then, when you do a mission, it seems to happen at least once per island, a pod will drop, and all you have to do at some point during the mission is have one of your mechs move onto that square. And then you collect the pod, and you get a really good reward for doing that. It can be sometimes a little bit difficult to make that happen, so it's not like a trivial thing to pull it off. If an enemy moves onto the pod or attacks the square with the pod is destroyed. Enemies, in my experience, will not move onto the pod. They will avoid it, so pretty much the only way you can screw it up is if you actually like push an enemy onto it. So here, let's take a look at what we want to do. I like to kill these things because giving all enemies a bonus health is super annoying. I could move this guy right here and punch this thing to death. That will drop the Hornet to only 2 hit points. Then I can shoot the Hornet and push it onto my combat mech, which will kill it, which is good. Then the combat mech, however, will drop to only 1 hit point because he's going to take 1 damage from the Hornet being pushed, and he's going to take another damage from blocking the spawning Vek. Now, another option is I could simply shoot this. I'm not going to click right now because I don't want to lock this in. If I shoot, then the Hornet ends up landing here, and it will take another damage and block a spawning mech from me. If I want to, I can shoot it with my artillery, and it'll die when it blocks the mech from spawning. The disadvantage of this move is that I can't actually put my combat mech here and punch this guy, because if I punch it, it's going to get pushed into a building and damage the building, which I don't really want to have happen. So that's another option I can take. This guy has 4 hit points and is difficult to kill. Note that if I shoot this Hornet onto this square, I cannot then move my guy up here and punch the Hornet to death, because then I'll be blocking the train, and the train does not want to be blocked. Alright, we'll keep it simple. I am going to just do this, even though it means that the Hornet lives, because it also blocks an enemy from spawning, and the Hornets are not an annoying enemy type, so I'm happy to have a Hornet instead of having some kind of a mystery thing. This guy, I'm going to go here with, and I'm going to just punch this thing for 2 damage. So this thing is very likely, because he only has a movement of 3, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, see it's where it says in the bottom left, Scorpion, that 3, that means he has 3 movement points, so he can't really get near anything. He might walk up to this building if this thing flies out of the way. You can see the attack order. So this guy moves first, so he might fly out of the way, and then this guy might walk up to it. If that happens, that happens. But this thing is very likely to come up to my guy, web him, and then I can punch him to death. And the artillery, I'm going to amble the artillery over here. Actually, I have choices. I could shoot this guy, or I could actually shoot this square and push the Hornet into the Scion. They would each take a damage, and the Hornet would then die. I think I'm actually going to do that. The risky thing about this move... Actually, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to go here. Is it pushes my cannon mech back, and it also puts my artillery in front of the train. So if something comes up out of here and webs my artillery, it could be a dicey situation. But we'll take that risk. We'll see what happens. Thing you have to remember is the square that you target with the artillery takes damage. But all the squares that get pushed do not take damage. Okay, we've got another Hornet, which is fine. They're not the scariest enemies. As predicted, this guy moved up and webbed my dude. We got a lot more enemies coming. Okay, so I think we're going to think about what to do with this Hornet. If I shoot it into this mountain, it will die. I could take the artillery onto this time pod, target this mountain square, and push the Hornet out of the way, and then I get the time pod. I'm playing with fire by not taking the time pod when I've got the chance. Yeah, so you can see this game, you know, kind of a tough game. There's lots of decisions that you have to make. I could shoot my own guy with my artillery mech and push this dude onto the space, then put my combat mech here to block that space, and finally kill this stupid Scion. Alternatively, I could just punch this guy and shoot the Scion, but then I'm not blocking anything from spawning. So I'm going to try it like that, even though I am delaying by yet another turn. My ability to get that time pod, which I really want. So I'm going to shoot my own guy, push that guy there, move here, block that spawn, punch this thing, kill it, drop a hit point from everybody, and then I'm going to shoot this guy into a mountain, killing him now that he has only 2 hit points. It is worth noting that for the Scions that give everybody a bonus hit point, that also increases how much experience you get for killing enemies. So if you really want to try to, you know, min-max it, you can get more experience that way. Okay, so we're in the clear, because now there's only 1 turn left, and there's only 1 enemy, so we're just going to pick this thing up, kill this thing, and call it a day. How do I kill this enemy? Well, I think I'm going to move my artillery mech to get the time pod. I am going to move my guy here. Then I'm going to shoot this thing and also push it into a forest. And finally, I'm going to kill it. Okay, this guy leveled up. He has +1 mech reactor, which is a very good benefit. We'll talk about that in a moment. First, though, let's go ahead and send the train off to its destination. Okay, so 2 more reputation for defending the train. Let's take a look at our time pod. So every time pod gives you a reactor core. Sometimes they also give you a pilot or a weapon. This one didn't, but that's fine. I'm very happy to have a reactor core. Let's talk about upgrading your mechs. So first of all, my guy leveled up and he got +1 mech reactor. There's 4 different things you can get. It's random. It's not like predetermined. And 3 of them are good and 1 of them kind of sucks. So the good ones are +1 mech reactor, which we'll talk about in a moment, +2 health, which you can see is equivalent to this thing, and +1 move, which is equivalent to this thing. So they're all kind of interchangeable. The mech reactor, the bonus health, the move, they're all kind of the same. They're all just really good. The 4th thing you can get is +3 grid defense. This gives you an additional 3% chance of defending an attack when a building gets attacked, which is stupid because you don't want your buildings to get attacked, and 3% is not that big of a difference if your buildings do get attacked. So it's just not that cool, but hey, it happens. You know, you'll have some +3 grid defenses coming up in your games. So let's talk about upgrading. Power cores or reactor cores are extremely useful because they allow you to upgrade the mech's capabilities. So this guy, now he just has +1 mech reactor, so I get like kind of a free one for him. So I can, for example, just like boop, have an extra movement. And you can move these around, so I can undo it as much as I want to. But that means that the really key decision is where you install the reactor cores, because you cannot take a reactor core out of a mech and put it into a different mech. I'm definitely going to want to do this because being able to move more is incredibly useful. Eventually, I'm going to also want to do these things. Dashing allows him to attack in a straight line, which you can argue is better than +1 move. I personally don't think so, but it's a reasonable choice if you want to go there. So it's the same attack, but now he can dash any distance, and you want to try to kill an enemy from 5 squares away at some point because that is one of the achievements. And eventually we'll spend 3 power cores to up his damage by 2. This is a pretty good ratio, 3 for 2. So I'll be happy to do this at some point if I get the chance. And then this guy has +1 damage and +1 damage. Super simple. Now this is spending 5 power cores for 3 damage, which is not great. It's not as good of a ratio. Or sorry, 5 power cores for 2 damage, which is not very good. But, you know, it's still damage, and that's a good thing. And this thing can get the +2 damage, which is great. And buildings immune, so you can target buildings and push things away from them without having to damage the building, which is good because it increases your tactical opportunities. This guy having only 2 health, the +2 health is also nice. I'm going to go ahead and put a power core into my cannon mech and up its movement, because this guy is more limited in who he can target than the artillery mech, so I'm more interested in upping his movement, but I will want +1 move for all of them and then maybe start to save up for the other upgrades. Let's take a look at our other missions. So, destroy the dam. Okay, I'm fine with that. Destroy the dam is a great mission. It's a pretty nifty one. So at some point during this mission, you need to destroy this dam. When you do, all of these tiles will fill up with water, and any land-based units in them will drown. Unfortunately, these are all flying units, which kind of sucks. The dam does take 2 damage to kill, but I do have a guy who can punch it to death, so I'm going to put him here, and look for a good opportunity. Maybe after we kill these hornets, you know, and then some land-based enemies spawn, we'll try to punch through the dam. For the other things, we're not going to worry about it too much and just put them down. And yes, you really should think about where to put things, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to make this video unnecessarily long. Okay, so we have some enemies spawning. I could push this guy onto this square, which will also kill him. Give 1 experience to everybody on the team, and block a spawn. So that seems solid. Another option is I could block the spawn with my cannon like this, and then push the Scion. So the Scion blocks the spawn, and dies that way. Where can this guy move? He can't actually move anywhere until I push these things away. Yeah, what do I do with the artillery mech this turn? I like punching this, and then what, just like tag teaming this with the artillery mech and the cannon mech? I would like to block both spawns. The main issue is that this guy, if he punches the hornet after my cannon has pushed the Scion here, then the Scion will die and it won't actually block anything. So maybe what I'll do is this. I'm gonna actually just shoot this square and do no damage to anything. Then I'm going to punch this hornet, which kills it and deals 1 damage to the Scion, so the Scion dies when the enemy spawns. And then as for this, I'm just going to move here. So it's tempting to shoot this thing. I can't kill it though. I mean, actually I could shoot it, and then it'll die when this thing dies and we get a new enemy. Actually, that's probably smart because I want to spawn enemies that don't fly so that when the dam breaks, it has a chance of killing things. Okay, we'll do it like this. So now, when the enemies spawn, this Scion will die, so then this thing will die, because it loses its bonus hit point. And we got more stuff spawning. Okay. So what are you? Just a regular old dude. Okay, if I move my guy out of the way, this building is going to get shot. And it's not easy to stop this from happening unless I do 2 different pushes. No, what am I talking about? We are going to go like this, and we're going to push it from the back, and it'll land in this water and die. Ha! Okay. So then we'll block that spawn point, and repair to heal. You have nothing to do, unfortunately, but that's fine. Oh, one thing you have to be careful of on these missions, I have to kill at least 7 enemies, so if I do too good of a job blocking things from spawning, I will fail the mission. Okay. So, let's see, I can kill these 2 guys, but I'm just gonna make sure that I don't block anything else from spawning. Okay, I'd like to target this square with my artillery, but because of my artillery being poorly positioned, I can't actually move anywhere orthogonal to it. This guy, however, can swoop around here and just shove it into the water. It's cool. You, gonna keep things simple. Just go there, punch and kill this thing, and block a thing from spawning. I'm gonna try to position him a little bit more centrally. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put him here, and I'm gonna shoot the dam one time, just in case. If something weird happens and my guy can't do the 2 damage punch, it's really critical that I break the dam on the next turn. So I want to give myself the option of being able to break it with one of my other units. Okay. So this is interesting. If I move out of the way, this guy is gonna break the dam for me. Do I want to do that? Let's see. I think so. Because then it'll just flood and then kill himself. Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is gonna go here. Shoot him. Then once the way is clear, punch him to death for some experience. You are gonna go here. Shove this guy into the water. There's our watery grave achievement. And then this guy is gonna shoot the dam, break it, and drown, giving everybody an experience. All right, that was a pretty satisfying ending to that mission. I will happily accept this. Okay. And now we have one more mission. What's this? Defend the tanks. I like this. This is a tough mission, but it's a fun mission. So let's do a tough one. So what you have here are these 2 tanks. Now the problem with these tanks is that they are currently deactivated. They are currently not powered up. It takes them 2 turns to get powered up. In the meantime, they're just taking up space and they're sitting ducks. So it is tough. The good thing about this map in particular is that at least this tank is kind of blocking the movement of this Alpha Scorpion. Oh, no, sorry, not Alpha, regular Scorpion. So the Scorpion is very likely to stay here and either target the building or target the tank, and my artillery can shoot behind it and push it into the water. My combat mech, I'm going to try to rush up to the Scion and punch him to death. My cannon, I guess I'll just put it there, and artillery, we'll put it here so I can target this square. This is, I know, something I should think about more is where to place my starting units, but, you know, I'm thinking a lot about other things, so I want to try to prevent videos from being unreasonably long. Ooh, that's a tough one. That is a tough thing right there. Okay, so the issue here is that I can't attack from the water. I can stand in water, but I can't attack from the water. And if I go behind it and I punch it, it's going to damage the building, because remember, the punch comes with a push. So this thing, the only way I can stop it from attacking the building is to devote my cannon to it. So I think I'm just going to have to. I would have liked to, like, move my cannon here. Oh, I can... Yeah, I can do that! Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the cannon here, kill the guy like this. I'll use my artillery to push this thing out of the way. So the drawback with this move is this thing never got damaged. If I had shot it with the cannon, it would have been damaged. But the advantage is that I'm blocking an enemy from spawning. And then I'm gonna, oops, nope, that's not right. Okay, if I did this and punched him, it would kill my tank. So I need to actually go here and punch like this to kill it. And this guy harmlessly attacks the water. So it should be okay, I think. The artillery should be able to handle whatever this is doing. And I blocked an enemy from spawning. Oh, you want to get in my grill? That is totally fine. Okay, so these tanks are still waiting to be powered up. They are not active yet. This guy, I think I can just kill him. I can't really kill them both. Unless I pushed one of them into one of the other ones. Yeah, no. Okay, so I'll just shove you away so he doesn't get hurt. And I'm gonna kill the Hornet. The Hornet is a less scary enemy because it doesn't web, but it flies and it can go attack random buildings up here, which I don't want to deal with. This guy webs, which is sometimes devastatingly terrible, but his movement is 3 and he can't go past your units or my units. I'm actually gonna take a bit of a gamble here. We're going to, oh no, wait, what am I talking about? No, I was thinking of going here to block an enemy from spawning, but instead I'm gonna go, oh, I was thinking of going here and doing this, but that actually unblocks the spot. That's not great. Okay, so yeah, we'll just block an enemy from spawning and go down to 1 hit point. Hopefully that's not a terrible, 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 terrible life choice. I will, oh no, I don't want to do that because that'll kill the tank. Whoops. Okay, so we're just gonna end the turn. Stop talking, Boris. Okay, so there's 3 enemies here. My guys are a bit damaged. I have to be sort of careful. Okay, okay. Okay, I've positioned my things pretty well here. So now what I need to do, these guys are at a critical point, but my tanks are finally active. This is a pretty weak thing. All it does is just push the enemy, but sometimes a little push is all you need. So I can actually just push this guy away, and now I'm safe. And I think I'll follow that up by moving my cannon here and shooting this guy like that. So now he's gonna die and block an enemy from spawning. Meanwhile, this thing needs to get the heck out of here. Ah, my guy needs to actually go up and deal with that hornet, because it's my artillery can't get up here, which it would need to be able to shoot the square to push the hornet down. Okay, so my guy's gonna have to just kill it, which is good that he can, because if he couldn't kill it, that would have been a problem. I would have taken some damage. So for the artillery, I can just repair him and keep blocking. I can also step back, shoot the square, kill the firefly, and let a new enemy spawn. Yeah, let's let a new enemy spawn. This could be a mistake, but it's the mistake I feel like making right now, so... Wait a minute. Hold up. These tanks have a lot of movement. I'm just gonna go here and shoot this guy into the water. So that means I am going to repair to stop from dying. That is my turn. This guy's a bit out of position, but luckily I only am gonna have 1 enemy to deal with, because this guy died for the motherland. Okay, well, I'm not gonna worry too much about how to deal with this. We'll just push him, and then push him again. Way to go, tanks, you were helpful! And I guess I'll repair. And end the turn. You don't need any health. Okay, that was a good one, killed everything. So yeah, this starting squad is great. The fact that they all can push is huge. There are a lot of squads that do more damage, but then you kind of miss out on the potential for tactical manipulation. Okay, let's see if we can have a perfect island here and deal with this firefly leader. Okay, so we've got lots of fireflies. Unfortunately, no water on this map, which is a bummer. The corporate tower is one of the objectives, and destroying this thing, which has a mountain of hit points. What is that, 6? Good God, that's another hit thing. I'm gonna put my combat mech right in front of this guy. Maybe I know it's a pipe dream, but maybe I'll be able to punch him into this mountain for some extra damage. Cannon, I guess I'll just put him here, and artillery, I'll just put him there. The nice thing about the fireflies is they are slow and they shoot in a straight line, so they're somewhat predictable. Okay, this guy shoots in 2 directions, which is intimidating. Ugh. Okay, this is a bit scary because all 3 of them are attacking something, and it's a little bit tricky to figure out how to deal with it. This guy in particular is a major problem, because if I push him this way, he will end up doing that building. This guy has to get pushed. So let's just think. If I go here and I punch, this guy will die, but then I'm gonna need to push this guy. And when I do, he is going to, like if I were to push with the artillery, my guy would get pushed off this square. So maybe what I wanna do is something like this. Shoot him, even though the damage ends up being irrelevant, just to push this guy. And then, oh, but then when I punch this guy, no, when I attack this guy will go here, he'll block a Vec from spawning, but then I'm not gonna kill them, I'm just gonna deal 1 damage to this guy. That seems bad. Okay, another option is, no, what am I thinking? I could shoot this guy for 1 damage, push this thing into the forest, where he shoots a mountain harmlessly, then come up here, punch this guy to death, and use my cannon to push this thing out of harm's way. But then it will actually be shooting down like this. How much damage? He deals 4 damage. Oh, he'll end up killing my combat mech. Ha! Okay. So this thing has to be pushed down, because if I push him up, he'll hit this building. So I could actually, let's see, what's the attack order? This thing shoots first. Oh, if I punch him, he will actually kill this guy for me. Huh. Okay. So then all I have to do is make sure that this thing is shoved aside. That gives my cannon a free move. Okay, so we're gonna punch. And then we're gonna put the cannon here, do 2 more damage, pile up on this guy. This does mean I'm letting enemies spawn, but then hopefully I can punch this thing to death next time. And then although this is irrelevant as far as damage goes, I just need a push. I just need to push this guy out of the way, so he's shooting a mountain instead of a building. Notice the turn order is very important. This thing went before this thing, so that this thing didn't get to attack. Make sure you hover over the attack order sometimes to check important things out. Ah, God. Okay, so this thing spawned, which is giving everyone a bonus hit point. That's not good. This is really tough. Okay, so the problem is my combat mech can go here and take this thing out. But the problem is, because of this Firefly, I cannot push this guy easily. I would have to put my artillery mech here, targeting this square to push the boss away. And then the boss doesn't even take any damage from that. Well, he'll still be at 2 hit points, and hopefully another one of these doesn't spawn. Then my cannon guy gets to make a move. Here's a problem. If I target this square now, my cannon guy gets pushed into a building. I need to push this thing, and then I need to move the cannon guy into its square so I can shoot this guy down. But I can't do that. So what I have to do is maybe instead go here, shoot like this to push this Firefly down. Ah, yes, there it is. Like that. And then I move the cannon mech in, and I shoot him away. This thing only does 1 damage, right? Okay, good. Hold on. This thing does 1 damage, but I'm standing in a forest. It will catch fire, and then I will die of fire. But next turn. So that means that if I take this line of attack, my guy next turn is committed to just repairing himself. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do still. But those are the kind of things that you can easily miss. So now we punch this, and it dies, and that means the boss should die as well. Okay. Alright. So it's fire happens at the start of the enemy turn. Since this guy shot, it means the enemy turn has already passed, so my guy doesn't die until the next turn. Okay. So now, let's think. The problem... I might have to take some damage here. The problem is this guy is shockingly difficult to deal with, because my artillery can't help. My artillery couldn't help anyway, actually. There's no way that this artillery could have pushed this guy out of the way. I can't kill him. Ah, I can kill him. Okay, so I'm going to heal, which heals the hit point and puts out the fire. Then I can go up here and punch him, which will push into my own guy and deal a damage, but not kill him because he repaired. And the fire is out, so he's not going to die of fire. And then here, we'll keep it simple. We'll just get behind him and shoot him like that. So he blocks 1 enemy from spawning, takes the damage, and dies. Okay, so we're going to get 3 enemies, but then only 1 turn. What is that? Oh, have a pilot reach maximum level. Yes, that's not too hard. Some of the achievements are definitely, you know, gimmies. Okay, this is great. The enemies all decided to attack my mechs. None of whom are in danger of dying, so at this point it's just a matter of trying to get as much experience as possible. What can we kill? This guy is blocked by that stupid thing. So okay, so my combat mech can easily just punch this guy and kill him. But then my cannon mech cannot shoot this Firefly. Alright, I'm not going to overthink it. Let's just do that, even though it's a total waste because he already has that max experience. Go... Oh, here it is. Here it is. I found it. Go here, shoot behind, so that this guy becomes unwebbed. Then I can come up here, shoot the Firefly, push it into my own combat mech, and kill it for 2 experience. There we go. We didn't kill this guy, which is fine. So, you know, crazy people, you know, who play really well would be disappointed, but I don't care. And then the Good Samaritan achievement that we just got, that was for completing an island without failing any objectives. And it's interesting to note that taking damage on the power grid and having a mech disabled is not a big deal. As far as the game is concerned, you really want to focus on these objectives because the bonus... Ah, I got the crappy one. What is this? Finish a corporate island without taking building damage, and then complete the first island, and I also got complete an island perfectly. Wait, what was the other thing? Oh, the other thing was getting 9 stars on a single island. Wow, that was a lot of achievements for finishing that island. Okay, so you get a bonus if you don't fail any objectives, and they're always the same. You always get +2 batteries, a pilot, and a weapon, and you choose one or the other. This one is, it's an interesting one. I haven't used it yet. You pretty much are resigned to not having a pilot in that mech for an admittedly very powerful effect, but we'll just take the pilot. Usually this is the best choice, because if you don't want the pilot, you can sell him or her for 2 reputation, which is the same as getting +2 grid defense, so I'm not sure why you'd ever have this choose this option. Plus, picking a pilot here unlocks the pilot in your hangar so you can use them in future missions. The other way that you can get pilots is by finding them in the time pods, but otherwise the main way that you unlock more pilots is by completing a perfect island. So let's take Henry Kwon. He's a pretty cool pilot. They start off pretty experienced, and his special is way better than Ralph Emerson's special, which is being able to move through enemy units. That is dope as hell. In fact, I'm gonna switch him out. I'm gonna put him into my combat mech because your melee mech really wants to be able to move through enemy units. And then as far as the other ones, well, this guy doesn't have a special because he's already at max level. I don't know if I really want to use him long term. I'll just use him now for the bonus mech reactor, I guess. I mean, I could just like try leveling up these pilots to hope that they don't get the grid defense bonus, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Let's just give a movement. And okay, so now we spend our reputation. So you can sell your weapons for 1 reputation apiece. I wouldn't recommend it unless they're extra weapons. You can sell your pilots, which I will do. I'm not gonna bother about it. And then there'll be 4 weapons for sale, and you can buy grid defense and power cores. Now, one thing I didn't realize when I first played is that basically, the main thing that you want to be buying are reactor cores because these upgrade your mechs and they're kind of a huge deal. Weapons are, you know, you have to buy the weapon and then you also need to buy power cores to be able to upgrade the weapon so the weapon's actually good. So it's a much more like dicey proposition with the weapons because it really is quite expensive. That being said, if you don't buy new weapons, then by the end of the 3rd island, you're not gonna have anything to use your power cores on. So if you are gonna go for a 4 island clear, then at some point you should pick up an extra weapon. Stab multiple tiles and push the furthest. That takes 2 power just to run it. I'm not gonna worry about that yet. Interesting. Also 2 power, I'm not gonna worry about that. Oh man, much better upgrades though, look at that. Only 3 power cores for 2 damage instead of the 5 that my current weapon uses. I could do this. I don't know if I want to mess around with that though. And smoke drop I actually really like. So just once per battle you pick a cross and then it covers them in smoke. Enemies in smoke and your own mechs in smoke can't attack, so you can just cancel an enemy attack. I'm gonna get this even though it means I buy 1 fewer reactor core because I just really like it. So we're gonna get 2 reactor cores, and then I can either buy a weapon or just a couple of grid power. Let's go for the grid power. I'm not excited about those weapons. So now we've got our 2 power cores. Let's go ahead and increase some damage. I'm going to... Oh, this guy still doesn't have movement. Shoot. Okay, so let's give him movement. Everybody's got bonus movement. Good. Unfortunately, because I chose to buy this instead of buying another power core, I can't quite get this damage yet. I could, of course, take the movement off, add a power core, and get damage that way, but I'm not sure that that's worth it compared to being able to move around more. Okay, so I think that I am going to want this bonus damage at some point. That'll be the next damage thing I get, because it's only 2 power cores instead of 3 for the other 2 mechs. So I'm just going to install this now and give myself health in the meantime. And then any of my mechs can take this weapon. It's not restricted by class. Every mech has a class, and if you equip a weapon that does not match the class, it costs an extra power to use the weapon. However, this is an any class weapon, so I can put it on anyone. I think we'll put it on the... It's tough. Because if you use this, you're not using the mech's normal weapon. This is the most limited of the weapons. It is ranged, but currently its damage is small and it's a projectile, so it's not as flexible as the artillery. So we'll put it here. Could be a mistake. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. We'll do this over several videos because one run does take kind of a while to finish. But thank you for watching. Please like and or subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll be back in a moment to tackle our second island.